Jimit Sangvi from Collegepond here. We'll be talking more about fall 22 versus spring 23 today, and in general, fall versus spring as well for going forward for the future intakes as well. Okay. Having said that, let's look at the agenda. We do the analysis, the acceptance rate. What about, many people have these questions. Will it affect the scholarships, jobs, the intake abilities? For USA, if the H1B lottery system is not there, the OPT is affected. So we'll try to address all these questions maybe, once the presentation is done. I won't be talking a lot. I want to focus more on just giving you the data and then move on to the Q&A. Okay, so let's get going. As a background, College Pond has sent students to over 17 countries across various domains from engineering, architecture, physiotherapy, pharmacy, finance, supply chain management, right? We've done it across all the countries and top colleges in these countries. Okay, so that's a background of College Pond, and my background is I have also studied abroad. I did my masters in USA. I worked abroad. I was a part of the admission committee. Worked with them. Have been on both the sides of the table as a student, and also once I have been on the other side of the table as well. So I hope I can share some of these insights and the experience that we have had across the last decade and try to address all your questions. Please hold on to your questions towards the end of the presentation. Let me just finish my presentation and then we'll focus on the Q&A part. Okay, let's come straight to the point. Why was fall 22 in demand? Let's first understand that. It was in demand for one, the pandemic. A lot of people did not go in 21. See, when you had to go in 21, you had to apply in towards the end of 2020, and the situation was not great. People were worried. So they did not apply for 21, many of them, right? So they ended up, looking at 22 as another option to go. And, after 1 year of pandemic, people thought, let's live with it. Colleges became offline, everything was back to normal before the Omicron scare came out, and which I think should be back to normal in the next 1 2 months. So having said that, a lot of people applied for fall 22, number one. Number two, GRE was still waived off by many colleges. Now if I talk of GRE waiver, okay, if I compare fall 21 and fall 22, now in fall 21, a lot of universities had waived off the GRE because in 2020, the ETS centers, and everything was closed. Okay, you could not give the GRE or TOEFL at all. Then TOEFL from home started, then GRE from home started. So in 2021, a lot of universities had waived off the GRE GMAT. As we moved on to 22, a lot of them made it compulsory again. And as we go on to 23, a lot more will make it compulsory. So this might be the last chance for you if you want to look at the GRE waiver. So what happened was a lot of people who had sorry, had a poor GRE score or could not give the GRE score wanted to take an advantage of GRE waiver and try for fall 22. Okay. When we go to spring 23, fall 23, okay, GRE will become compulsory again, is my guess. Another reason for my projection is this, that in the pandemic, everyone started getting 10 out of 10 in their academic exams, right? So, hey, if I'm an admission committee and if I see every Tom, Dick, and Harry is 9 plus out of 10, how do I compare apples and oranges? So this could be another reason why GRE might again become important, because everyone is 9 plus and I need to differentiate the boys from the men. Okay, so having said that, GRE becomes important if you are a person who is afraid of competitive exams, has anxiety attacks, panic attacks during exams, such entrance exams. Maybe you want to think of fall 22 for those colleges where the deadlines is still there and the GRE is waived off. If your GRE score is excellent, yes, maybe you can wait for 23 because that could be your selling point going forward. So that's the first point about GRE. Second is, what about the deadlines, right? Now, when you look at fall 22, the deadlines of various colleges across the world start from October and go on till February, March, right? Now, if I talk of Canada, USA, usually I would say 80% of the deadlines are gone. It's between October to January. If I talk of UK, Germany, Australia, yes, they are still open. So if you're looking at, say, USA, Canada predominantly, many of your deadlines are gone. There are still options available. For example, if I talk of Arizona State University, the deadlines for most of the programs were December, January. But because we have a tie up with a lot of universities, the deadlines are still extended and you could even apply till February end or March also. So yes, if you think you can scrape in 1 month and work on your application, you still have time to catch a few colleges that are still open. When you talk of spring, right, you are looking at the January or the February intake. The timelines vary again from college to college. Germany is usually March, right? They call it the winter intake. So the deadlines will vary from July to October. So if you think that, hey, you know what, I won't be able to complete everything in the next 1 month, maybe till February end or March 15 latest, if you can't apply, then you look at the spring intake where you have 3-4 more months to work on your essays, letters of recommendation, resume, your profile building, your exams if you need to retake any, right? So you'll have 4 months to work on these things, and then you could start applying from July if you want to go in the spring intake. Deadlines are there, right? Like I said, keep in mind one more thing, that in spring there will be fewer people applying, right? Because your people who are studying, right, in the final year of college usually are not eligible to apply for the January February intake. So they graduate and then they apply in August. So those who apply in spring are those who graduated already. As a lot of people, usually 60% of people go abroad as freshers. So they graduate and they want to go immediately. Hence, for spring, there are fewer people applying because the people who are students in the final year are not eligible to apply. Right? So these are few points. Moving on. Let's talk about the acceptance rate. All colleges usually have a fall intake. The same cannot be said necessarily for spring. Not all universities have a spring intake. Not all countries have a spring intake. So before the pandemic, UK, Ireland, all the countries having 1 year programs usually had a September intake. September to June, you graduate, you move on, new batch comes in. So if a program is a 1 year program, a lot of them do not have a spring intake, right? This is true across. Like if you look at even in USA, right? I mean, there are a lot of colleges, like let's say a UCLA, for example, or a Carnegie Mellon. There are so many programs there which do not have a spring intake. So if you're targeting those colleges only, and if you think your fall deadline is gone, then maybe you can also consider fall 23. That is something that we need to brainstorm one-on-one with a student and figure out what fits right and what is not right for you. A lot of people think, that, hey, you know what, a lot of misconceptions are there about spring. You should not go in spring, you don't get internships, there are less jobs. A lot of misconceptions are there, but the biggest advantage that beats everything out is the fact that the competition is very less. So to give you an analogy, I know people who apply for fall with the same profile going to colleges like Texas, Dallas, Northeastern, Arizona, Buffalo. And when they're applying for spring, suddenly they are getting, the same people are getting admits from John Hopkins, Columbia, Cornell, NYU, right? Carnegie Mellon. I've seen the same profiles, the same essays getting into better colleges in spring because the competition is very less, right? So if you think what your aim is to go to a better college, I would say that spring could be a good option. Again, that needs to be traded off with your GRE. Now, if GRE is required in spring and not required in fall, then we need to balance it out and brainstorm what would be the right optimal path for you. Another thing to consider is the course options, right? When you go in fall, all courses are available. Now, like I said, not all universities have a spring intake. Okay, so if you're going for an unusual course or a 1 year program that is starting only in January, then yes, you might have a problem because there might be fewer options available in spring. Again, this is not a major problem. I would say this is affecting only 10% of the colleges, not a lot. So, for example, you want to do a course called X, and then you want to do advanced X, right, which is available in the next semester. And if X is available in fall and advanced X is available in spring, in that case, yes, you might not be able to take advanced X before doing X. So, what is the play around or a solution over here is you will not be doing that course in the first semester, you will do something else. Then, in the subsequent semester, that is your second semester, that is your fall 23, you can do the course X. And then in spring 24, you can do advanced X. So, you're basically jumbling around with the courses. Okay. So, this works if your course is more than 1 year in duration. Also, another thing, a lot of programs only have a spring intake in Australia and New Zealand. So, for example, if I talk of clinical psychology in Australia, it only happens in spring, it does not happen in fall, right? Similarly, if I say talk of data science in Canada, it happens only in fall and does not happen in spring. So, it has to be a mix and match of the course and the country and the college. And then we need to figure out what are your chances of getting in, where you have a better chance. Will you get a better college in fall? Will you get a better college in spring? And that's how we'll work around it. Okay, having said that, let's talk about the internship opportunities, job opportunities, and assistantships, RATA, GA, all the graduate assistantships. Now, first thing to understand is abroad, the career fairs happen every semester, right? So you go in fall, spring, usually it doesn't matter. Every semester there are career fairs where you will get to network with the universities. Number one. Okay. Number two, a lot of programs are flexible. You can complete the course in 1.5 years or 2 years. Okay, let's take an example of Duke Engineering Management. You can complete in 1 year or 1.5 years, right? So you could go in fall and complete in 1 year. You can go in spring and complete in 1.5 years. You can go in fall and complete in 1.5 years, go in spring and complete in 1 year. So you can play around with it. So what happens is, it's what is important is when you graduate, right? So let me give you a simple example of what happened in the pandemic, right? A lot of people were gonna graduate in May 2020. In February, March, when the pandemic hit, they realized, hey, my peak time for job hunting, that's March, April, May, everything is shut down. The jobs were not there, right? So it didn't matter when they started, it mattered when they graduated. So what happened is, a lot of them actually extended their graduation from May, and they took a summer course or even extended it to December. Very many people were able to do that, right, after talking to the universities. So it is not about when you start, it's also about when you graduate. When are the companies recruiting? That's important. Okay, so I know people who gone in spring and have graduated before people who went before a semester to them. So someone, let's say, goes in fall 22 and takes 2 years to graduate. Someone goes in spring 23 and does a summer course and graduates in December. So they've graduated before also. It has happened in my batch also. When I went abroad 20 years ago to study, I know people who had come after me, took a lot of courses and then graduated earlier, right? So that's what the third point is, right? The colleges are flexible and they allow you to graduate in 2 semesters, 3 semesters, 4 semesters. Also, in the summer, some people want to do an internship. Some people, if you don't get an internship, you take courses, graduate early, right? Or you don't do anything and you travel around, come back to India. So the summer vacation is also the time when you can basically play around. Now, having said that, if you are going for a 1 year program, no matter when you go, there is no internship, right? So you go in August and graduate, in May, or you go in January and you graduate in December, there might not be an internship possibility. Again, maybe in some countries in summer you might be able to do it, right? So for a 1 year program, it's just 2 semesters. It usually doesn't matter. Now let's talk about a point that is unique only to USA. A lot of people are applying to USA and they think that, hey, you know what, I will not get an internship in this if I go in spring. So let's understand what does the rules signify. So the USA rule is this, that you cannot do an internship for the first 9 months of you landing in USA. Okay. So if you go in August, you complete 9 months in May, in the first summer vacation, you can do an internship. Then you do fall, then you do summer, spring again, you graduate, etc. However, if you go in the January intake, in the summer vacation, you have not completed 9 months. So you cannot do an internship in the first summer vacation. Okay. However, there are loopholes to it. We had colleges like Amherst, Columbia, Carnegie Mellon figure out a way, and they said, you know what, the internship is a part of the curriculum, and they actually gave it to the students in summer, where you actually interned in the college with incubators and in-house companies. So there are loopholes which colleges exploit as well. So having said that, if you are not able to do an internship in the first summer, what people do is they usually take courses so that you are on par with people who went abroad, or you work with a professor and do assistantship. And then in the second summer, so if you go in spring 23, you are eligible to do an internship in summer of 2024, right? So you're just basically, your internship is shifted from the first summer to the second summer. Okay, which again, if many people, what they do is they get a full-time job, they graduate early and don't do an internship. You don't get a full-time job, you do an internship and then you graduate and then you apply for full-time jobs. So it is quite flexible unless you are going for a 1 year program. Okay, so I'm done talking about fall versus spring. And before I open it up to Q&A, I just want to talk for 2 minutes about how Collegepond comes into the picture. We work with you right from your career planning, you're choosing your right course, your college, helping you choose your country, your college, which intake to go to maximize your chances of getting into a top college, working with your documentation, essays, resumes, applying for your scholarships, college interviews, working with your parents on financial planning, bank statements, affidavits, notaries, pre-departure, how do you immigrate, your vaccinations, hunting for roommates. And the last part is the post-landing services that we have been providing since over a decade, right? How do you open a bank account there? How do you apply for jobs, internships? We are there to do resume critiques for you, mock interviews for you, connecting you to alumni, connecting you to recruiters to make sure you get a job at the end of the day. And we do everything to the portal that we have, the Converge portal, where you can connect with your mentors, you can connect with your seniors, you can connect with university officials, you can, look at the college deadlines, information about the colleges. So everything under the sun would be basically there on the portal to help you out. The app can be downloaded through the App Store as well. Okay. A lot of features will be there for you guys to try it for free. In case you want paid services, also you can upgrade for various features. Again, if you want to discuss one-on-one with us about what is the right intake for you, okay, set up a one-on-one session with us. Our information is there on the screen. You can even walk into our branch, take an appointment and walk in. We follow the COVID protocols as well. Okay, so that we can figure out how to do the, customize it for you. Like one example that we do with some kids is, hey, we have missed out on a few deadlines for fall. Whatever is available, let's apply to those. If we get in, we go. If we don't get in, maybe we'll apply to some more for spring. So we customize some for fall 22, some for spring 23, some for fall 23. So we mix and match and customize to figure out what would be the right career path for you, and how do you choose the best course, curriculum and the intake. Okay, great. Let's start going on to the Q&A. Before we go on to Q&A, just taking a minute to thank you for your time, to listening to us live on a Saturday afternoon. I hope I have been able to address a few of your questions. Uh, we help 1,000+ kids every year, and we hope we get a chance to work with you and helping you achieve your dreams as well. Thank you so much, and let's open it up to Q&A. Just scrolling through the questions. Indians who are PR have to give GRE for US, and what is the criteria for admission? Right, the criteria for admission will be, GRE or TOEFL exams, your essays, letters of recommendation, resume applying. That's what usually the transcripts from college are, the standard documents. It can vary from college to college. Impact of fall versus spring for Germany, Netherlands, and UK. A lot of colleges in UK do not have a spring intake. For Germany, I would say that winter intake is less competitive and you can get in. So Germany, winter is the March intake and fall is the October intake. They're offset by 2 months versus the other countries. For Netherlands, for Netherlands and Sweden, most of the colleges do not have a spring intake. If we already have internship experience from India, can we skip the first summer internship or it's compulsory? It is not compulsory, Siley. Let me rephrase it. You are eligible if you go in fall to USA, you are eligible for the first summer for an internship. Just because you are eligible doesn't mean you will get the internship. Having said that, if you go in spring, you are not eligible in the first summer, but you can do your internship in the second summer. Again, internship is not a compulsion, but yes, it definitely adds value to your resume. Good colleges that offer spring intake for MEM in USA, I think there are quite a few. Duke allows, Cornell allows, Columbia allows, Northeastern allows. There are a few names at the back of my mind which I could think of. NYU for the technology management program as well. I'm pursuing MCOM. Am I eligible for Canada? Or if you completed your 16th year, the first year of MCOM, and now you enter your second year of MCOM, yes, you are eligible for Canada. For degree programs, if you want to quit your MCOM and go, you are eligible for the postgraduate diploma programs. You can study anything related to finance, or you want to go out of MCOM, you want to go into analytics, supply chain. There are different areas you can venture out into, Purnima. If you are not sure, we can help you with your career planning. Or does GRE at home have any disadvantages? I will answer this question, but ideally, I want you guys to limit your questions to what is in scope for today's webinar, that is fall versus spring. If you have any other questions, I'll be more than happy to address them. Maybe you can set up a one-on-one appointment for us in that thing. That would benefit everyone who's in the webinar today. So GRE from home disadvantages, there are no disadvantages per se, except that you need to have a very strong internet connection. Other than that, it should not be a problem if you are comfortable. But TOEFL from home has disadvantages because a lot of universities do not accept TOEFL from home. Best intake for Masters of Chemical in Canada. So, Mihir, for Masters in Chemical in Canada, I would say obviously fall intake has an advantage because in spring there might be fewer universities. Having said that, if you miss out on it, then you don't want to wait for next fall. You think 1 year, waiting for 1 year is a big thing for me. It's not practical for me. I'm sitting at home. In that case, you target the colleges that are open in spring. Okay, Chaitanya, you will have to wait for the new dates for the ILTS and then reschedule. Is work experience necessary for MIS? No, it is not compulsory. If it is there, yes, it adds value to it, but it is not a compulsory thing. So let me address this separately. A lot of people ask me, is work experience compulsory to go abroad? Now, it depends on the field you are going into. You are going into psychology, marketing, then yes, I would say it definitely adds a lot of value. For other fields, it's not compulsory. I would say about 60-65% people do go as freshers, 20-25% go with 1 to 2 years experience. and 10% go with maybe 3 or more years of experience. What is important is how well you perform there and how well you clear your interviews. So if you're going for a technical course, it's your technical skills that's going to help you. If you think that working for a year will enhance your technical skills, then definitely do it. However, the other side of the coin is if the job you get is not relevant or you do not have a job in hand, then rather than sitting at home and doing online courses, I would say that start your studies earlier. Okay. Um, can I get a good university for fall if I apply in this month? Dhruval, it is possible. Again, it depends on the course and where you are right now. Set up a one-on-one and we'll be more than happy to address it. Is part-time considered as job experience? So it depends, it's how you sell it across. Sometimes you sell across your internship experience also as you have worked in this company and how well you do in your interviews. I've written GRE. Okay, I will graduate. Is my score valid? So the score for GRE is valid for 5 years. Best intake for MBA in UK, I would say for MBA, I would prefer in UK, I would prefer the fall intake for MBA. 5 years of experience, completed BCom, MBA, and plan for MS Finance for Spring 23. Khushbu, definitely doable, no problem at all. How many months before fall should I start the study process? The earlier you start, the better. A lot of people, if you are applying for scholarships and early board, you want to complete and apply by September, October. So you have 7 months from now to complete your GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, IELTS, essays, and everything. The earlier you start, the more time we have to work with you, your profile building, etc. 15 years of education. Can I try Canada for a master's program? Nikunj, I would say 90% of the universities need a 16th year. There are exceptions. You can try for postgraduate diploma in most of the colleges and some universities that allow a 15th year for a degree program. So you could apply to a mix and match. Deadline for USA universities like UTD, ASU for fall 22. So, Mr. Pramod Ram Shankar, the deadline varies again from course to course. The deadline for architecture could be something else, for chemical engineering would be something else. Having said that, it's usually between December to March. For ASU, we have a tie up with ASU, so you can apply for free, I think, and you still have 1 more month, even though the deadline is gone. Any colleges for masters in cybersecurity? There are many out there which are available. Don't worry about it. Are good architecture masters program available in UK and Australia for spring? Kriti, in Australia, they are available. In UK, there will be a problem. There will be very few that are available. MS in finance for spring 23, which universities? Usually the universities, inform you by June, July, which are they going to be open for spring or not. But having said that, a lot of people have gone to Fordham, Baruch, Buffalo, Rutgers, UT Dallas. These are some names I could think of that are open for spring for finance. Good universities for MIS for spring 23. There are chances, Ankit. For example, NYU is there, Cornell is there, Northeastern is there, Syracuse is there. Yes, not every college is there, but yes, there are colleges out there. So, no problem. What about PhD? So for PhD, Shagun, not a lot of colleges might have a spring intake. Okay, you will have to ask the university because PhD is fully funded. So if the universities falls short of funding after the fall applications are done, they might not have a spring intake. So you'll actually have to find out whether for PhD the fall their university is accepting or not. Germany colleges for auto systems and machine learning, please tell. Pramodram, you can actually go on the DAD website and put in these things and you will get the list of colleges that are open. Country for masters in biomedical. I would recommend USA, Germany, UK, and the Scandinavian countries. Best universities in UK for VLSI. Guys, these things you can actually get it on Google as well, right? You Google the best colleges for VLSI in UK, you will get the names. What I need from you guys is to figure out how do we get into those colleges. That is more important, and those are the questions I want you to ask me. Is masters abroad right after graduation or after work experience? Samriddhi, I just answered that question few minutes ago. UK, they have a graduate route of 2 years. They prefer their citizens and not give us jobs. Not necessarily, Thevin, because the work permit is opened up from April 2021 onwards. So don't worry about it. You need to target those countries that are open to recruiting all kinds of people. What about the college bond application and fees? Just get in touch with us and we'll understand your requirement and tell you what package suits you. Universities for business analytics, data science in USA, Canada. So Bhakti, you can Google it up and get it as well, right? I mean, there are a list of colleges. I don't want to throw, maybe if you have to throw some names, I know that Columbia is there, for example. In USA, for Canada, there will be limited colleges for the spring intake. For USA, you will find many more. It could be Northeastern is there. I think Brown is there. USC is there. Columbia is there. NYU is there. Top for fall intake for UK for MBA. International business without GRE. For MBA, GRE GMAT is required by the top colleges. For international business, you can apply without the GRE or GMAT, Christina. Can I do masters in biomedical after MPH? Oh, yes, you can. But I would need to understand why you want to do that, Siley, because why do you want to do two masters? So this is something that we would want to brainstorm and then figure out whether it's the right career path for you or not. Or will a PGDM be counted as work education, work experience? No, Priyanka, PGDM is not counted as work experience. It can be counted as an additional degree, but not work experience. When should I apply for fall 23? Ideally, you want to apply by October to be considered for the early bird and for scholarships. Is 1 year master's degree from UK valid and globally recognized? A 1 year degree is not recognized in India when you want to do a PhD in India. Okay. But having said that, if you done your master's abroad, there is a 99% chance that you will not come back to India and then do PhD in India. Right. So having said that, the only time when a 1 year degree doesn't work in India is when you want to do a PhD in India. And common sense tells me if you're going abroad for your master's, you won't come back to India for a PhD. So you could do a 1 year degree abroad, come back, and it's completely fine. It works from a job point of view. Okay. Answer this question. Which country to choose, USA or UK, based on employment? Let me put it this way. A lot of people ask me this question: what is the scope for this field in this country? See, let me rephrase it, right? It's not just the country, it's also the college in the country that's important, right? If you ask an engineer, like, hey, what is the scope of engineering in India? The answer will vary depending on the college the student graduated from. If he graduated from an IIT Delhi, he would say amazing job opportunities, 20-30 lakh rupees starting salaries. If he graduated from a tier 3 college in a tier 3 city, the job opportunities are not good, right? So if you ask me what is the scope for ABC in this country, I will say it depends on the college you graduated from. For me, it's not just the country, it's a mixture of country and college. So let's take an analogy. You are getting the rank 1 in Australia and you're getting an okayish college in Canada. I would say go to the rank 1 in Australia. You're going to the best college of the country. You will get opportunities, right? Or vice versa. Okay, college in USA and the rank 1 in Canada. Maybe go to the rank 1 in Canada because you're going to the best college. You're going to an IIT, IIM in India. You will get opportunities. That's my take on things. Okay. Right, so I hope that answers question put by Manesh Sai Nakul Reddy. Bhakti has a question: does GRE get waived off if you have 2+ years of experience in Big Four? Bhakti, not necessarily. For some colleges, 3+ years or 5+ years are there. You can email and request for a waiver, but not all colleges will waive it off. Top colleges in USA which accept spring chemical engineering. I know Columbia and Cornell do. I will have to check it out. I'm not sure about CMU. Maybe CMU and John Hopkins also do that. But I will have to check that out. But I definitely know Columbia does, NYU does, USC does. Supply chain management in spring, I can think of Purdue and UT Dallas and University of Southern California as of now. Can we get two internships in a 2 year course as compared to no? Difficult because your course would be a 4 semester course, so you would be graduating before the second summer. So usually you do not get two internships. Is PhD mandatory if you want to go for research? It is not mandatory, Siley. Again, it depends on the field you want to go into. So, for example, you want to do nuclear physics, then I would say that if without a PhD, the job prospects would be less. Which universities will I miss if I go for spring in US? Maybe UCLA, Carnegie Mellon, they do not have a spring intake. But there are, I would rather put it this way, don't think negatively, what will I miss? Ask what can I target, right? You have got USC, Columbia, NYU, John Hopkins, right? I mean, Northwestern, Stony Brook. There are quite a few colleges which have a spring intake. Is it too late for fall 22 for chemical engineering? Or if you are ready to slog hard for the entire February, we can still scrape through for some colleges, like say an Arizona State University, or we'll have to check it out and still get back to you which all are open. But I mean, yes, you are late for many colleges, but there could be some that are open. And if you are really keen, maybe we can discuss what is open and what is not, and then take a call. Is PhD fully funded in Europe and USA? In USA and Canada, PhD is fully funded. In Europe, it may or may not be fully funded. Is GRE of 311 a decent score for spring 23? It's not a great score. Again, I don't know what is the quant and what is the AWA, right? It is definitely not a decent score. If you want to target a college like a Dartmouth or a Duke, it's not a great score, or a Columbia. Maybe then you are better off applying in fall 22. John Hopkins GPA requirement will vary for all the course that you are targeting, right? This is something that we need to brainstorm. Is it too late for computer engineering, machine learning, fall 22 in Germany and Netherlands? Not late for Germany, maybe for Netherlands a bit late. Late, yes. Should we consider employment clauses of a country? Definitely yes. So it depends on what your end goal is, right? So we also look at what is the stay back option, what is the work permit, what is the income tax rate of the country. Like Germany, the income tax rate is as high as more than 40 to 50%. So if you say my end goal is to make money, or Sweden goes to 60%, then you don't want to go to the countries which are having a very high income tax rate, right? What is the stay back option? How long do I need to stay to get a job? In how many years can I get a PR? In how many years can I get a citizenship? So these are the points that we need to address when we choose the right country for you. Cool. I've been getting a lot of questions which are out of scope from today's webinar as well. The scope was fall versus spring, but nevertheless, I've tried to answer as many questions that I have. Okay. If you guys have a lot of questions that are not in context with respect to today's webinar subject line, I recommend you to set up a one-on-one with us and we'll be more than happy to address them. We keep on doing every Saturday webinars. I think next Saturday there is a webinar on how to build your profile. Okay, what can you do other than your exams and your academics to build a profile, right? So we'll try to address all these topics on every Saturdays, across the next few months. It could be loan, finances, profile building, SOPs. We'll try to cover everything under the sun. Okay, maybe I'll take 2-3 more questions and then call it a day, because all the questions that I'm getting are not relevant to the subject of the webinar, but I'll still try to address them quickly. Do requirements for GRE and GPA change for the fall and spring intake? Tarkesh, my question to you is this: if I say yes, will you study more for fall or will you study more for spring? My logic is simple: you do the best you can, and then we brainstorm where you have a better chance of getting in what university, right? Choosing a spring versus a fall is something that needs to be understood, which course, which country, and it needs to be personalized. There is no generic answer for this for these questions, but yes, spring is definitely less competitive, so you might get into a better college. Sure, if your plans are to return back, should I mention this in the SOP considering blah 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 blah? Ujjwal, it depends on how you put it in the SOP. You can put it, that's completely fine, but it needs to form a coherent storyline and it needs to put across a point that you know what you are talking in the SOP. Best score for GRE, I would say, is 340 on 340. Is it necessary for employment causes? No, GRE doesn't impact on your employment clauses. Is GRE important for fall 22 and the deadline is near and I haven't prepared for GRE? Chandrakant, if you are targeting fall 22, you will have to apply without the GRE because you are a bit late. You'll need to target colleges with the GRE waiver. Stay back option in Germany and Netherlands after you graduate. You get about 18 months to hunt for a job, and once you get a job, the employer you can stay on the employment visa, which is for 2 years, and then you renew it. After 5 years, you can get a PR. Okay, thank you, Siley, for your kind words. Scholarship opportunities for Spring 22. The scholarship opportunities are there irrespective of any intake you go, right? So don't worry about that. We usually guide our students before they fly on how to apply for scholarships. Does Stanford have admits for spring? Siley, Stanford doesn't have spring intake for most of its courses. Okay. Having said that, I think I'm done with the presentation. Thank you guys once again for your time. Okay. If you still have further questions, please walk into our office or set up a one on one with us. We appreciate your time on a Saturday afternoon. Have a wonderful weekend.